Alright guys, what's going on today? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the new Boruto episode 191. Now, watching this anime, it correlates to chapter 56 of Boruto, and I'll explain why. First, let's go over the episode. So the episode starts off with Kawaki looking for food, but he can't find any food. And it's a recap from last episode as well, where Sumire, Boruto and them all go looking for Kawaki. So then Kawaki goes around looking for food, but he can't find any, and all of a sudden he finds a piece of bread. Now he picks up the bread, he finds a stray dog. Now the stray dog is getting angry at him, because the stray dog wants the food. So then the dog tries attacking Kawaki, and Kawaki grabs it by the neck and puts it down. And then he sees it has injuries on it. And then he ends up wrapping a piece of his cloth on his injuries. So once Kawaki heals the dog moves back. And Kawaki's like, that's correct, you're not supposed to trust anyone, which is basically Kawaki, because Kawaki doesn't trust anyone. So then Kawaki gives it a piece of bread and he eats it, and then Kawaki starts moving along and the dog starts following him. Now the dog's basically attached to him. While the dog is following him, Kawaki keeps throwing stuff at it saying, stop following me and everything. And the dog won't stop following him until Kawaki gets angry and he throws a rock. He almost threw a rock at the dog, and then it stops following him. And then it cuts back to Boruto and them. They're going around the station looking for Kawaki. They can't find him and all that sort of stuff. And then it goes to Sumire. Now Sumire has a little flashback again of Kawaki saying, you're a monster just like me, and she basically wants to go find Kawaki. So then she goes in the village, and then she sees where Kawaki's blood was on the dumpster. And then she puts a cloth on it, and she sees that the blood is still wet. That's how you know Sumire is really smart. She's not your typical type of ninja. If she knows the blood was still wet and he's still in the city, she knows to look for him. So then the dog goes and robs some food from a food stand. And while the dog's running, Sumire notices that the dog has a bandage on it. So then she decides to follow the dog, as the dog has the bandage, has the cloth of Kawaki on it. And then again, you see Sumire's intellect again, because she knows Kawaki is wearing that cloth and he put it on a dog, and she's like, I thought so. So then she follows the dog, and the dog basically goes to Kawaki, and then the dog ends up getting hurt by the person who he stole the food from. And Kawaki's arm activates, and he scares off the guy. Kawaki then scares off the guy, and Sumire finds Kawaki, and then they start talking to each other, and Sumire helps Kawaki heal the dog. And she puts a spray on him, and the dog is just chilling there. Now, the part you gotta understand here is Kawaki and Sumire's interaction. She's like, I wanted to help you because you remind me of myself. She's like, when I was a kid, my dad made me do some stuff and put this monster and everything in me. So she's like, I know how you feel. She's like, I know you had a pretty bad past or a rough past. And you can see Kawaki starts sympathizing with her. And he's like, why are you telling me all this? She's like, I know, I see there's darkness in you. And while they're talking, Boruto and them show up, and all these police ninjas show up. And then Kawaki grabs Sumire by the throat. Now, if this doesn't remind you of Sasuke and Sakura, then you know what's up. Because he went after Sakura a couple of times, and it's exactly the same. So in this scene, Kawaki decides to choke Sumire, and he's like, you betrayed me and everything, or you pretended to get close to me. And you can see why Kawaki doesn't let his guard down. So then all the police ninja attack Kawaki, and he basically ends up running away, and Sumire gets hurt. So then Boruto helps Sumire. So then Naruto gets off the train with Sai, and they see all this commotion going on. And then you see Boruto bring Sumire, and she meets Naruto, and she tells Naruto, she's like, don't hurt Kawaki. She's saying that he's the same as him, and he had a rough past and all that sort of stuff. She's like, don't hurt him or anything. And Naruto understands, because he was in the same situation. So then, while Kawaki's fighting all the guys, they end up using a jutsu on him, a fire blast jutsu, and he absorbs it. And then he activates his karma, and he's about to attack. But then he sees a little kid, so he deflects his attack. And that's when you see a Naruto, he blocks his attack. And then that's when Kawaki's like, oh, so you're here now. And then basically he talks out, he's like, I'm taking you under my wing. And then Kawaki passes out. And then you see in the next episode, it's all like Kawaki's backstory. Now, if you look in this episode, it shows Sumire's intellect. It shows the backstory to the manga, where Kawaki wakes up in the hospital bed and he's like, I'm the 7th Hokage and all that sort of stuff. Is because Sumire said Naruto's coming, who's the 7th Hokage. And that's when Naruto showed up. Even though he doesn't know who Naruto looks like or who the Hokage is, he kind of sensed that was the Hokage. Then he's going back to Sumire's intellect. She's smart enough. If you read the latest manga chapter, you can see that Sumire is working with Amato. Now, if you look carefully into some of the panels, spoilers ahead, that she is carefully watching what Amato says. When Amato called out Kawaki, he's like, hey Kawaki. And then Kawaki looks back, and you can see Sumire kind of like peeking over her shoulder. Amato's like, never mind. So I feel like Amato knows something's up with her, but there's a reason why she's working with him. and she uses the I like Boruto thing as, you know, like to throw him off guard or whatever. I believe it's going to be Kawasumi and Borusara, because in this episode you can see why Sumire went through all this lengths, even let herself get hurt just to find Kawaki. All right, you wouldn't do that unless, you know, you could relate to them somehow, and I feel like they're going to give her more back like story, like her and Kawaki together. And because of this episode, you can see why Kawaki kind of trusts her in the latest manga chapters. Even in chapter 44 when she was healing him after the Boro fight, and in chapter 56 after the Ishiki fight, she decides to heal Kawaki while everyone else is, you know, doing their own thing. And this episode basically gives a reference to that, where she decides to heal him and she decides to come after him and help him. Even she tries giving him the injection, but he attacks her because he's scared of needles. But yeah, regarding her intellect, she's a smart ninja, and I feel like that's why she's gotten close to Kawaki and Amato on purpose, and she's probably using her Boruto feelings thing for, like, you know, just to distract them. I believe it's going to be Kawasumi rather than Borusumi, and it's going to be Borusara. Because in this episode you barely see much of Boruto and them, you see mainly Kawaki and Sumire. But yeah, this episode is really good. Now the next episode we're going to see the backstory of Kawaki, and then I believe episode 193 starts off again at the manga canon material, where we're gonna get off to chapter 26, where Kawaki wakes up in the hospital and finds himself in front of Naruto and Shikamaru. So yeah, let's see where that goes. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for my future videos.